In this video, I'm going to show you 3 techniques for creating PDFs with perfect page breaks in your Bubble app. This is a page in a Bubble app where I've designed a PDF that I'm then going to generate from another page. And I'm going to show you first of all how you can add page breaks before specific elements so you don't end up with cases where you have certain groups following on from elements that you don't want. So for example, maybe I want this table of contents to be on a new page, like this. I'm also going to show how you can implement smart breaks, whereby if an element looks like it's going to get split across 2 pages like this, instead we add it onto a new page. Finally, I'm going to show how you can start each cell of a repeating group on a new page. This is a repeating group with 3 cells, market trend 1, 2, and 3. And you see that regardless of their length, they're started on a new page every single time. Okay, so before we get to actually building out the workflows associated with our page breaks, we're going to need to register for an account on DocuPotion.com. This is a tool developed by Cranford Tech. So I'm just going to fill out these details really quickly. And once you create an account, you're going to have access to the PDFPotion dashboard. And if you go to the My Account section, you're going to be able to generate an access token. And this is important because once you've created an account on PDFPotion.com, you're going to need to install the PDFPotion plugin. So if you go to your Bubble editor, go to the plugins tab and search for PDFPotion, you should be able to install it. And you're going to need to put your access token into these 2 fields here. So I'm just going to go back to my dashboard, copy that and paste it in here. And here it is the exact same token for both development and live versions of your app. Okay, so let's create a new page in our app. And I'm going to call this page test report. And we're not going to clone it from anything. The beauty with PDFPotion is you can create PDFs or design PDFs in one page of your app and then create them from anywhere else. So we're actually going to design our PDF in this test report page, and then the user is going to generate it from another page, the index page. So I'm quickly going to change the layout to a column. I like setting the dimensions of my page, or at least the width, to be equal to the width of the PDF. And I know I'm going to be generating an A4 size PDF and that the appropriate width for an A4 size PDF is 794 pixels. So I'm going to set my default builder width to that 794. It just makes it easier when we're designing our PDFs. And I'm then going to add in a group and 2 text elements, which I'm just going to do quickly here. Okay, so we have a really simple group with 2 text elements in it. That's how it looks on the actual app itself. And what I'm going to do now is I'm going to add in a second page. Okay, so now in addition to this first page that we created, which is inside one group, we also have this second page, which is the table of contents. And let's create our PDF of these 2 pages. So I'm going to go back to my index page. And because I have the PDFPotion plugin installed, what I can do is when I'm adding a workflow, I'm going to have access to this action here called Create PDF. And you can see here there are a number of fields that we need to fill out. There are 4 that are pretty much mandatory, and then the rest allows you to customize your PDF in a whole bunch of different ways. But I'm going to keep it pretty simple now. And what I'm going to do first is focus on the website home URL. As you'll see, if you click on the Show Documentation button, we're just putting in the dynamic expression, website home URL. We're then going to put in the page name, which is simply the name of the page where we created our PDF. In my case, you might remember that was the test report page. So I'm just going to type in test -report. The identifier field is really important. And what this is a way for PDFPotion to identify which entry in our database we're going to connect this PDF to. So inside in my database, I've created this data type called report. It's really simple. It just has one custom field called link. You might have a more complicated setup, but that's really all you need if you want to get your PDFs created. So what I'm going to do in my workflow is before I create the PDF, I'm going to insert another action. And I'm going to go to create a thing. And the new thing I'm creating is a report. And that's all I'm doing. I don't actually want to set the link field just now. I want to simply create the report in step 1 so I can access its unique ID in step 2 here as the identifier. So I'm going to go to result of step 1, its unique ID. Okay, let's create our PDF. I'm going to come back to this callback URL field in a minute, You can see it's actually throwing an error, but we don't need to fill it out just yet. So I'm going to click on Preview, and I'm going to click on Create PDF of Demo Report. You can see there something is happening in the background. And I will say it does take a few seconds for DocuPotion to generate the PDF. And we're not actually going to see it on screen here because we haven't triggered a download, but it is going to show up in our database. So if we go back to our data section and click on File Manager, we should hopefully see, if we refresh, that we don't even need to refresh actually, because I can see this file here has just been created. And if I click on this, you'll see here we have our 2-page report. So this is where we're going to put in our first page break. There's two things I don't particularly like about the layout of this PDF. The first is that we have the table of contents starting on the second page here. I'd rather start this on a new page. I think this deserves its own individual page. And then the other thing I don't particularly like is just the lack of a margin here. I don't like the way the text is crowded at the top. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to make two changes to my Create PDF action. The first thing I'm going to do is I'm going to put in a margin. So if we go to our workflow, click on Create PDF, I'm going to put it in a top and a bottom margin of 50 pixels. And then the second thing I'm going to do is I'm going to scroll down and I'm going to put in something in this element page breaks field. So this is a field that allows us to specify which elements we want to put a page break before. In order to access this, what we're going to need to do is ensure that under settings, in general, right down the bottom here, you're going to need to make sure under advanced options that expose the option to add an ID attribute to HTML elements. Make sure that's ticked. Otherwise, you will not be able to assign an ID attribute to that element. I'm then going to go back to my test report. I'm going to click on the group that's housing everything here, and I'm going to give it an ID attribute. And the ID attribute I'm going to give it is just break 1. You can give it whatever you like, but just to keep it simple. I'm then going to go back to my Create PDF of Demo Report, and under the Create PDF action, I'm going to put in break 1. I'm going to refresh our application. I'm going to create another PDF of that same report. So again, we can see we're firing the Create PDF workflow action. DocuPotion has gone away, creating a PDF of that. And if we go back to our database, the file manager, and just refresh that, we're hopefully going to see a new file uploaded there. And we do indeed. You can see they're the same file size, or slightly bigger actually. And if we open it up, this time we have a bigger margin at the top, just because we've added that 50 pixel margin in, which is nice. And then importantly, we can see this is now starting on a new page, the table of contents. So that's how you add a simple page break to a PDF. And you can repeat this as many times as you want. So let's say, for example, we had another page there under test report. Let's copy this group here. Let's just paste it here. And we're just going to call this the introduction section. And again, let's just copy some of this placeholder text, paste it in here. And I'm going to give this group here break 2. And again, if we go back to that Create PDF action, go down here and add in comma space, importantly, and then break 2. What we'll see is next time we're generating our PDF, we should hopefully see that introduction page also on a new page. So we'll create that, give it a second to do its thing, go into our data section, and then under File Manager, you do have to refresh this most of the time in order for it to show up. So we'll refresh that. And we give another file uploaded, open that up, and you can see we now have page 1, nice margin, page break, page 3, and then page break for the introduction section again. So that's how you add simple page breaks. And before we move on to the next section, I just want to go over how you can actually let the user download this in their browser. So what we're going to do is we're going to go back to our workflow. And you might remember I referenced under Create PDF this section here called callback URL, which is really important. And what this is this is a backend workflow that's going to allow Bubble to process our PDF and actually link it to something in our database. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to first of all go to settings, and then under API, I'm going to make sure that this enable workflow API and backend workflows box is ticked. You will need to be on a paid plan to do this, just so you're aware. But once you have this ticked, you're going to have access under the drop down here to this new section called backend workflows. And I'm going to add a backend workflow. I'm going to call it get PDF. And I'm going to say it can be run without authentication. And before I do anything, I'm going to add in a parameter. And that parameter is going to equal ID. You must type in exactly ID. It can't be anything else. And then I'm also going to add in another parameter called a link. And again, it must have that specific spelling. It must be called link. It can't be called URL or anything else. Then I'm going to go to click here to add an action. And under data things, I'm going to make changes to a thing. And what I'm going to do is I'm going to do a search for reports, which you might remember is that custom data type I highlighted earlier. I'm going to look for the first item, but I'm only going to look for the first item where its unique ID is equal to ID. So what we're doing here is we're passing through the unique ID of the report we created on our front end. We're saying to our backend, look for that unique ID in our database, and then we're going to attach the PDF to it. And the way we're going to do it is we're going to say under make changes to report, we're going to say link is equal to link. And then what we need to do finally is add this backend workflow URL to our front end action. And the way we do that is if we go to our settings tab, we can copy this workflow here. We can go to our index page again, and then under callback URL, which is here, we can paste that in, and then really importantly, we're going to put in /get _ PDF, which is the name of the workflow that we've just created. Now, to make life a little bit easier for ourselves, what I always recommend doing, just to avoid confusion between dev and live versions, is going to the section just before API, deleting everything, and then inserting dynamic data, putting in the website home URL. That'll leave it to Bubble to decide what's kind of a dev versus live database and where they should store the created PDF. So that's pretty much all we need to do. So let's refresh. And again, we will come on to actually downloading the PDF in the browser in just a second. But before we do, I just want to show you what this looks like in the database. So I've just created a new report. And if we go to our database and if we refresh, we should see another one about 1634, 1635 is what I'm seeing here. And you can see we have it there, 4:34 p.m. And if we go into app data, under reports, we'll see we have another report here and it has a link. And if we copy that and paste it into our browser, we have our report with its page breaks. So that's how you save down specific PDFs to a database entry. I'm going to show you in a minute just how you can download these PDFs in the browser so the user actually gets to see them straight away. But before we do, we're going to move on to smart breaks. And to demonstrate smart breaks, I'm going to go back to my demo report. And you'll see here, if I scroll down, that I've entered in this new group. And it is a market trend group, just kind of describing some information. And what's important here is that we're using some dynamic data. So we're getting this data from our database called market trends. We're actually just searching for the first one for demonstration purposes, but we don't know how long this piece of information is going to be, which means we don't know when this piece of text is going to finish, and we don't know when this group is going to appear on the PDF, as in whether it's going to appear on this first page of the new section or it's going to appear on the next page. So I did add an ID attribute to this group, break 3, and I did add that to my workflow here. Just scroll down and have a look at that. Yeah, so I'm going to quickly create a PDF of that one more time, and we'll just take a look and see what it looks like. So again, back to data, and again, in a second, I'm going to show how you can automatically download it, but we can just see that link has just appeared. So if I copy that and open this in my browser, and what we'll see is first page has a nice clean page break, has the second, the third, and the fourth page. And then once we get onto our first market trend, everything looks fine here. But then we get this unfortunate behavior where it's been split across 2 pages. And even worse, because we have the margin in there, it's actually looking like it's getting cut in 2 and then reassembled on the second page. But this is where smart breaks can be really useful. What I'm going to do is I'm going to add an ID attribute to this group, and I'm going to call it smart break. So if I go back to my test report, and we just scroll down and find that, I'm going to give this the ID attribute smart break 1. Then go back to our index page, find that create PDF workflow, and under smart breaks here, just going to add that in. And this time, if we generate a PDF, what we're hopefully going to see is that because DocuPotion can see it's going to be on 2 pages, that particular element, it's just going to put it on the second page and get rid of that breaking behavior. So we can see there the link has come in. Paste that in. In fact, maybe I won't paste it in, I'll just leave that there as a comparison. So if we go down, we'll see here that now it's getting put onto a new page. So this is the old report, split across 2 pages. This is the new one. DocuPotion is putting on a new page. But what's really nice about this is it's only going to do this if DocuPotion sees that it's going to be split across 2 pages. So if, for example, that this was a way shorter piece of text, what we can do to test out is if we just go back to our market trends, and if we look at the first item, which I think is this one, and if we just shorten that up a bit by getting rid of that, and maybe even a bit of this, save that down. And this time, if we create a PDF, I'm hoping the DocuPotion is not going to put that on the new page because there will be space for it. Let's just take a look at our reports. That's the newest one in. And we can see this time that, yeah, DocuPotion is leaving it on the same page. So again, it's smart enough to know that in this case, it wasn't necessary to put this element onto a new page. Now, we did promise I would show how you can download the PDFs directly in your browser, and that's exactly what I'm going to do now. So if we go back to our index page and we go to workflow, and we're going to click here to add an event, and then we're going to go to create a custom event. The event name is going to be PDF created. We're going to add a new parameter. Our parameter name is going to be report, and it's going to be of type report as well. And then what we're going to do is we're going to say under plugins, we're going to have this download PDF action that comes with DocuPotion. And what we're going to do is we're going to find a link, and the link is essentially going to be equal to report its link. So again, we're defining report up here, and then we're accessing its link in the download PDF. You can call it whatever you want. I'm just going to call it my file. And we now need a way to trigger this custom event because at the moment, nothing's actually causing this custom event to be triggered. So under our create PDF workflow, under custom events, we're going to use the really handy bubble action called trigger a custom event when data changes. So what we're going to do is we're going to use the report we're creating in step 1 as the thing to watch, and the field we're watching is the link field. So essentially what's happening here is once that link field changes, i.e. it goes from empty to having something, we're then going to trigger this download PDF. So if I now refresh my index page, I click on create a PDF of the demo report, we can see DocuPotion has gone away doing its thing, and when that link field gets updated in our database, we should see this download in our browser, which is just what's happened, and we now have our 5-page report. You can add a loading screen if you want to improve the UI of this. I go over that in other videos. It's all in the DocuPotion documentation. But I think now is probably a good time to move on to our final example of how to use page breaks, and that is specific to repeating groups. And it's actually not technically a page break, but I still think it's related and pretty important in getting the layout of your PDFs just right. And it's in relation to starting each cell of a repeating group on a new page. So going back to our demo report, I've changed it around slightly. You'll see here I no longer have a group, but I have a repeating group here. I'm just doing a search for all market trends. I have 3 in total that I'm going to include here, just to give you a sense of how it looks on the page itself. We scroll down, and you can see here the trends are really quite on top of each other. And this again is the beauty of DocuPotion. The user isn't ever actually going to see this page. We're just using it as a template to generate our PDFs. And what I'm going to do is I'm going to give this repeating group the ID attribute RG break 1. I'm going to copy that, and then back on my index page, on my create PDF of demo report workflow action, I'm going to go down to this area here under repeating group page break options. You'll see here under new page per cell, I can paste that in. And what this is going to do, it's going to break each of the cells of the repeating group onto a new page. So we no longer worry about having to make sure it takes up a certain amount of space. It's just going to be each new cell, one new page. So let's refresh our application, or go back to the index page, I should say. Create our PDF there. DocuPotion will again do its thing in the background where it goes to that target page, generates the PDF of it, and then sends it to our Bubble database. And we should see in a second that download in our browser. And you can see it's just there. If we open that up, we have our first page, nice margins, nice page break, same as you were. But you can see here, once our repeating group starts, we have our first cell, our second cell, and our third cell. So again, DocuPotion knows to break each of these cells out onto a new page, which can be really useful. So that's it. That's how you add page breaks to your PDF and put repeating group cells on new pages. If you have any questions on any of this, you can let me know in the comment section below.